friends, how you doing? Welcome to lesson 7, testing for equality. So in this, we're going to be paying attention to the equal sign. But really, this is part of a much bigger concept of comparison operators. But for the sake of this video, we're going to focus on the equal. We're going to use some of the other ones, but most of them are pretty straightforward in the sense that they all work the same in Scratch and Python. But the equal sign does have a little bit of a different adjustment between Python and Scratch. And so I'll put a link in here into where I got this chart for the Python comparison operators. In Scratch, you have a green icon set of blocks called operators, and you have your comparison operators and so much more that's in there. So we have this operator right here that you can see where we can add two numbers, subtract, multiply, divide. We can do greater than, less than, or equal, and then we can create some statements of and, or, and not. So they're all built in under operators. In Scratch, it's pretty straightforward. In the sense of equal, you can just see that they're using just a regular equal sign. In Python, we have the same thing, except for when we want to compare two values, we have to use two equal signs. Because remember, when we assigned a value to a variable in Python, we use the equal sign. We've been doing that all along, right? Where we say A equals 2 or B equals 7. And so in order to actually do a comparison, we got to use equal equal. The only other subtle difference is for not equal, it's exclamation point equal. And then everything else operates the exact same. So nothing too drastic, but just a couple little nuances as you're looking at code and you're trying to write your own. And we've maybe used some of this in the previous videos, but just to be aware of why that happens. And so we're going to take a look at this just in the sense of equality, just to give an example. And we're going to create a game called Guess the Number, one that you've probably seen a million times, but maybe you haven't seen it through a Scratch and Python lens. And so just like we talked about, Scratch has one equal button that looks just like this in the operator. With the equal sign, you can put two variables in there. You can put two numbers in there, a variable and a number, whatever it is that you want to have happen. And then like we talked about in Python, the single equal is used to assign a variable. The double equal is used to compare. And on the slide, you're going to see the link right here. This will take you to the operator's resource where I got that chart to give proper credit to the W3 schools as well as so many other Python resources. So let's go ahead and build out some programs so you can see what it is exactly that we're talking about. And so if I let's start with Python this time, and then we'll move over to Scratch so you can kind of see how this works. So something that we're going to do, we'll talk about this in future episodes, but we're going to start off our Python code with an import command. Import allows us to bring in libraries. These are functions or code that's already been created so that you don't have to write it all. And there's so many out there that you're going to continue to experiment and find out what's available. But we're going to do import random, and this is going to import the random module that's going to allow us to do all sorts of randomization type applications. This random module contains a variety of things to do with random number generation. Just so you're aware. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. That's not the point of this video, but I just want you to be aware that we're importing a library of various commands. Then we're going to create a variable, and we're just going to call it n, okay, for our number. And we're going to add in this random integer here. And I'm going to pick 1 through 99. So this is calling up, okay, a function, a command out of this library of random. And what this does right here, this allows us to set the start and the end. So we can pick the range of numbers that n is going to randomly pick from. So I can make this 1 through 10, 1 through 1,000. I'm just going to make it 1 through, you know what, let's make it 1 through 100 so we have that. Okay? So once we have that, we're going to create one more variable, and we're going to call this guess. All right, and so we're going to ask the participant, and we've been doing this integer input quite some time now. You know that we got to convert it into an integer so we can do some calculations. All right, and we're just going to ask them to enter an integer from 1 to 100. All right. I'm going to leave that just like so. Okay. And now we have our variable where we're going to ask the participant to add that number. We're then going to add a while loop in here. So while n, okay, the number that the program's going to is going to choose one, okay, while it's not equal. So we're going to use the not equal to begin with here, okay, so you can see this comparative operator. While it's not equal to guess, all right, we're going to print if guess is less than n. Okay, we want it to print guess is too low. All right, and then we can put guess equals. All right, and then we're going to just put the same phrase in. I'm just actually just going to copy it. So it's going to have it choose another number. The participant is going to choose another number, just like we see. Okay, then we're going to do else if guess is greater than n. We're going to have it print, you can imagine, guess is too high. And then we are going to print this in here again, right? So we're going to have them choose another number. Finally, else, if it's not lower or higher, it's got to be equal, right? So we can print, boom, you guessed correctly. There we go. Break, print. So now when we run this, I don't even think we even need this here actually. I'm going to call this guessing game tutorial. Oh, we got an invalid syntax. See that there? Oh, I'm missing my N, aren't I? Let's try it again here. All right, so if I choose 10, guess is too low. I choose 30, guess is too low. How about 40, 50, 60? Ooh, so how about 55, 54, 53? Boom, there it is. You guessed correctly, and now we got it right there. So we can see how this works in Python, right? So we're using these comparative integers. We have the not equal. We can see we have the one equal sign to assign a variable, the not equal with the exclamation point equal sign here, okay? And then we've got this as we get rocking and rolling within our commands here, okay? And so what we're doing is we don't actually have the true equal equal, but we did have that in our calculator game that we showed in the previous video. Okay, so if I do the simple calculator, we had that here, okay, with the equal signs, equal equal if math equals. We're going to add if math equals the sub based on what the people are adding. All right, so we've got that in our equation right there. Could you write a code that includes a not equal and a equal equal sign into this equation to write a code? So it doesn't have to be a guessing game, but that would be the challenge for you. We saw how to use a not equal. How would you use the equal equal, just like we saw, in this simple calculator code that we wrote before, right? Where we were trying to equal up variables with statements. So that's a challenge for you to kind of figure that out of what you think it could look like. And while So here I have our Scratch world here, just a new program, and something that's kind of cool that you may not be aware of, but maybe you are, is the backpack. And so for this particular one, if I want to create guessing game, guess the number game here, okay, we did something kind of similar before in one of our previous lessons. And so if you remember back when we were learning about branching, we had these three different kinds of things of how to use the branching, the the if else, and then how we had to nest the if else statements within to get more and more options. But I want to use this right here because we can just take this and tweak it a little bit and we can have that guessing game. And so what's kind of cool, if you have a section of code that you want to use in another coding platform, so I want this from this code to our new game, I can actually take this and I can put it down here to the backpack. See how it highlights in blue? It's going to put it down there. And now when I go over to my new game here, I might have to refresh here. It's going to show it down in the backpack, just so you can see this here. Open up the backpack. There it is. So now I don't have to write all this code. See how that's just right there? It just makes life so much better as you're trying to learn some stuff with Scratch. And so as we look at here what we're trying to do, right? We are going to be working on this particular code. All right. The first thing that we have to do, we have to make some changes because it's not quite ready to what we had here in the Python game. But we don't have to import a random library, but we do need to create a random number, right? We have to be able to make this happen. So how do we get Scratch to choose a random number for us? Well, we're going to create a variable. And in this case, let's just call it n because that's what we used in our Python code. All right. And I'm going to just drag over set my variable. I'm going to drag this here. And we actually have under operators, we have a pick random block. So this is kind of like the import the random and then make n equal to a random number from here's the start and the end. So we can just make this, all right, 1 to 100. And I guess I don't know why I have that at 99. We'll make that back to 100 here. Okay, so it looks the same. Just set my variable. Oh, I need to make this n. Okay, is the same as these two blocks right here. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I have to put some different things in here. All right, so the first step that we've got to do is we've got to have a kick out. We got to have, we used this before, we're going to use a repeat until block. All right, so I'm going to drag this up in here. Okay, and you see how it just kind of generates over all of them, which is exactly what we want. And so we're going to repeat until what? Until we guess the correct answer. So we're going to go back here to operators, and there's our equal sign right in here. And we're going to repeat until our variable of n equals, all right, and we're going to put in here answer. All right. And so now we have our first statement right here. Pick a number between 1 and 100. And it's going to wait. All right. Now, we had over here that if it was to guess right here was less than, so in our case, guess is our answer block. We can't change what answer looks like because it's a sensing block there. Okay, so we just got to keep that as is, but just know the answer is equal to our guess variable on our Python. Okay, if it's less than 10, okay, but we don't want 10, do we? No, we want to change this to n. So if our answer is less than n, or I'm sorry, if our answer is greater than n, sorry, we're going to put your number is too high, choose again. Okay, else, if it's not greater than, if we're going to put a wait block in here because we might need it. Let me go ahead and stick this in here as well. We're going to wait so we can actually read that. All right, your number's too high, choose again. Else, now we're down here. If our answer is less than n, we're going to say your number is too low, choose again. All right, and we're going to put another wait block in here. Now we know that if it's not greater than and it's not less than, this else then has to mean that you guessed it correctly. So we're going to say, yes, you guessed the correct number. And then we can put a sound in just so we know that it happens. We're going to do a sound. We're going to go over here to sounds. We're going to click here. We're going to find the cheer one. I think there's a cheering command. There it is. We're going to add that. All right, so it's going to cheer when we get it out. So it's going to repeat this whole entire thing until n equals our answer. And then it's going to kick out and we should hear cheering. All right, so for the sake of this video, I'm actually going to click this so we can see what the Scratch program is going to pick. All right, so we know that the answer is 7. We would just uncheck that if we didn't want to see it. So if I pick 2, it should tell us that it's too low. Your number's too low, choose again. If I pick 9, your number's too high, choose again. If we hit 7, then we should hear, yes, you got it right, and we should hear cheering. There you go. So you can see here as we look at this code, the comparison, it's pretty spot on, right? So we're setting our n to pick a random number. The program's going to do that. That's the same as here, okay? And then we're going to ask the person to choose a number, and that's what this guess is here. This guess is similar to our answer. And then we have this if, else, and we have less than, greater than, or equal to, right? We have the same thing here, greater than, less than, else, it's right. And then it kicks out. The only thing we're missing here in Python is we don't have a sound effect. So you can see how the things are starting to be pretty similar in terms of how we want to do it. This not equal, okay, is like, we kind of have like an inverse here, right? So repeat until, so not equal. It's repeat until, all right, until it is equal, and then boom, we kick it out. So a little bit of opposite in terms of what we've got here, but the structure flows very much the same. All right, so here's my challenge for you. Can you create a new type of code that uses not equal or something similar to a guessing number game? Or can you take this Scratch code and could you remix it? Yes, I have these all shared, so you can just remix it and the code's there, where it would keep track of how many guesses it takes. Could you actually create a new variable where every time you click and guess a number, it adds to a score to see who could guess in the shortest amount of guesses? Just some challenges there for you. And if you do it, please let me know. Share it, screenshot it. Let me know that you've been working on it. Can't wait to see what you've been doing. And until next time, my friends, remember, stay off.